Okay, welcome to today's podcast where we are talking with Mariam Vossough on how to incorporate comedy into your copywriting. So really interesting topic here today. Probably a few little laughs along the way. Now, Mariam is a copywriter, she's a scriptwriter and a TikTok nerd for Gen X female business owners. Women who look at society's expectations of middle age and say, not today, Satan, which I love this. I resonate with this so much. Incredible. She helps them discover their Gen X factor so they can create vibrant, rebellious personal brands and say fuckity bye to being invisible online. So welcome, Mariam. It is so lovely to have you here with us all the way from the Northern Hemisphere. It's amazing. Good morning to you. Good evening to us. And welcome.
Hi, thank you. It's lovely to be here. Thanks for asking me.
So obviously I've just introduced you there with your kind of formal, elevator pitch introduction, but would love to hear from you, in your own words, what it is that you really do, who you love working with. Tell us a little bit more about you and the person behind the brand.
Sure. When I discovered copywriting, which was a few years ago now, I started my life as a TV scriptwriter. I did that for many years. For me, it's all about the writing, and I just got to the stage where I just wanted to write something else. So I moved into children's books, and I've done all sorts of things. And so when I discovered copywriting, I literally had no idea what this was. I come from a very traditional side of publishing. You get an agent, you get an agent for your TV work, you get an agent for your novels. I was blown away by the fact that you could earn a living online now. All the gatekeepers, the traditional gatekeepers, were down, and I think this is fantastic. And I started listening to podcasts about copywriting, and there's just so much in it. There's so much to learn. It really spoke to me. And so when I was, the thing that was very new to me was the concept of building a personal brand. I never had to do that. I had an agent, they sent my work out, people read my work, and that was it. It wasn't, I didn't see myself as a business. I just saw myself as a writer. So it was really tricky for me making the transition to copywriting, not because of the work itself, but trying to figure out my brand. I had real trouble niching down. Now, the style of my writing was not an issue. I write how I write. I like to write comedy. It's my happy place. It just comes naturally to me. But for some reason, I just couldn't. Whatever I did, whatever copy I wrote, it didn't seem to quite say who I was. And I realised I was working with a menopause coach. I know we're not supposed to say the M word, but I'm going there. I did it. And I realised that the reason I was having so much trouble pinning down what I was is because I completely lost who I was as a person. I'd spent so many years being someone else, being a mum, being a wife, being a writer, a business, all these roles that when I came down to being authentically myself online, which is what I tell everyone else to do, I thought, well, who the hell am I? So it was a real journey of discovery for me to unpeel those layers. And then the answer just came to me crystal clear. Well, this is exactly who my niche is. I cannot be the only woman, a Gen X, midlife woman who is struggling to figure this shit out. So the whole funnel then became clear to me, and all the services, everything just dropped in my lap. But it was a real journey, a personal journey to get to this place. So I feel not only do I love the style of writing that I do, I feel very passionate about helping my clients.
So for our listeners also, Mariam, you, in fact, could actually add something else to your website and your CV and your repertoire as a podcast namer. because Mariam was the one who came up with the name Mad Marketing Moms. I think it was. Did I put a TikTok out or something? Because we're mutual friends on TikTok, right?
That's right. Yeah, you put a TikTok out. You put out the cry for help. What we're going to call this? And it was just first thought that came to mind. I thought, oh, drop it in the comments, and then there I see it on your logo, and it's fantastic. I love it. I'm so glad.
I messaged Krishla and went, I think we've got a name, and I messaged her Mad Marketing Moms, and she's like, oh yeah, that's it. Yeah. No, there's no further brainstorming.
Other ideas, yeah.
Through brainstorming, let's know that's the best one, and because it fits so perfectly with what we were trying to talk about on the podcast. Yeah. Not only are we mad about marketing, we're mad about some of the strategies and tactics that people really push or even like shove down people's throats. And we wanted to change that mindset. So it fits so well. So we have to say a huge thank you to you for doing that. Not only as coming on a guest on the podcast, but giving us the name that we adore and we think is going to stick for a relatively long time. So
fabulous. I've been watching you on TikTok, and I got the feeling, the way you described the podcast, that was very much at the core. You're passionate about your children, but you're passionate about marketing. And I'm a few years ahead of you. Mine are teenagers now, but I remember those years that you're in, and it's just like being on a treadmill. It's just go, 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 go. And
it's on a treadmill with Lego being thrown at your feet.
Yes.
It really is. Yeah. But thank you so much for contributing to our podcast in that way. You also, though, you were in fact in TV script writing before all of this copywriting stuff really happened. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, I actually started my career in the cutting room. It was always going to be drama for me, fiction mostly. I took a drama and theatre arts degree. I did a lot of acting, but I became really interested in the editing process because it's actually an extremely creative role, and I love seeing editors, proper, fully experienced film editors, how they made pretty standard footage into something quite spectacular. So I learned an awful lot about story structure and plotting in the cutting room. But I began to realise that I was at the wrong end of the process, that actually I wanted to be at the creation. I wanted the blank page. So that's when I moved into working in TV, writing storylines, and I ended up being on the writing team of Coronation Street. Stayed there for about 5 years, and then did a couple of long stints on a younger kind of serial drama, Hollyoaks, which was a lot of fun because they were younger. You could have more fun, and I could incorporate more of the type of writing that I enjoyed doing. So, I spent a long time in working in TV drama. But when you've got two young kids, quite close together in age, it's difficult. I was still the primary carer, and you really have to be available 24/7 because if a cast member gets ill or for some reason something changes in production, you need to be available for those rewrites, and they need those rewrites yesterday. So I didn't feel like I could commit to that, and I didn't want to. I had two wonderful young kids, so I moved to something slightly less pressured.
How have you incorporating, I guess, that comedic spin into those TV shows? What skills did you learn from there that you have been able to apply now within your copywriting business?
As I said, very much so, story structure. I see copy. Obviously, copy is different because you have to apply marketing principles to it. But for me, everything's a story. And you write an email, it's got a beginning, middle, and an end. There's a journey through through that, and in a long sales page there's a journey through that. But also I learnt about creating characters and character dialogue, which is just your ideal customer, except your ideal customer is based on some, tangible things that you research. Your character is made up, but to me it's one and the same. A much more experienced writer than me at the time said, you'll know you're really good at this when you can cover up the names of the characters on the side of the script, read the dialogue and still know who's speaking. So that really stuck with me, and I apply that to, when I'm trying to get to the heart of my ideal customer.
Oh, I like that. And we had a bit of a chat about customer personas back in episode 1, because obviously that is the first step in any marketing that you're going to be doing. Mariam, coming back to copy, and I'm thinking social media, because that's where we spend a lot of our time. We know that, things like anger and negative emotions can really be a big driver for engagement online. But is comedy the same? Does it have that same impact as, coming out and saying something controversial or a bit, left of field online? Is it, I guess, how does it actually drive that engagement, that performance when it comes to something like your social media copy?
I would say it's not the same. It's actually better. I mean, laughter, if you think physiologically, it produces large doses of dopamine and serotonin that instantly boost your mood. And when you think about the amount of marketing messages and ads that we see just in one day, which one of those are you going to remember? You'll remember the one that made you laugh. Absolutely. Yeah. So it automatically and really quickly makes your brand more memorable. Research actually shows that your attention is never higher and your resistance is never lower than when you've just laughed. So it puts you in the perfect state to listen to whatever messages and, read about your offer. And we're all tired of reading boring beige copy. And, I don't want to write it and I don't want to read it either. So when you're building your brands, if you add an element of humour to it, your brand voice already stands out. I think, using humour in your copy makes people remember you more than any other emotion going. It also has a proven impact on sales. There's a lot of research out there that shows those figures. And it makes sense because, we buy from who we like and who we trust, and we like and automatically trust people who make us laugh. So, I don't know why everyone isn't doing it, to be honest.
Oh, I'm pleased to hear that. That's actually really great because I think I'm funny.
Don't worry, Krishla, you are.
In my writing myself. So I'm glad to hear that that's like backed up with, the stats and things like that, right?
It's funny that you mentioned how much more memorable any like situation where, or any sort of ad is comedic, because we're recording this podcast in December, and I was thinking about it today. I'm like, oh, January, it's next year. Oh, the Australian lamb ad is going to come out next month. So here in Australia, lamb is like the meat of the nation sort of thing.
Yeah.
And January 26th is Australia Day. And I think it's the Australian Lamb Association every year put out a new ad, and every year it is hilarious and is just so infused with comedy and colloquialisms, like state rivalry, that they just put a comedic spin to it, that it's to the point that some people are just like, it's not January until that Australian Lamb ad gets published and released to the masses.
That's fantastic. I mean, it must be powerful if it's only once a year and you not only remember it but you look forward to it. It proves my point, really. But there are some caveats to this which we can go into now or later, that I have to presume that firstly, you've got all your regular marketing pillars in place. You've got your ideal customer, you've got an optimized offer, because comedy in isolation is not going to be effective. You know, you have to have your brands down before you can really utilize it.
So do you mean then that you almost do the comedy last before?
Yes.
Yeah. So you do the any comedic spin, you do it last.
Yeah, because how can you write any type of comedy until you know who your target audience is? Because it's not just, I'm not talking about just putting a couple of funny jokes in your copy. That's not going to work. You must use it strategically. And the most important point I can make is that whatever humour you use must be based on a relatable truth for your ideal client. So take me, I work with midlife women. I can make a joke about the menopause. I can say, so-and-so is tighter than your premenopause jeans, and not only will it make them laugh, they'll think, oh, right, she gets me. It makes you more relatable. So
what we have to look forward to.
We need a completely separate podcast for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it must be relatable to your. It's not about. I mean, writing any copy. You'll both know this. You're writing it for your ideal client. You're not writing it for yourself. I'm not writing things necessarily that make me laugh, although they do make me laugh. But if I was writing for a different target audience, I would, change the tone and the nature of the comedy. And also, you have to stay true to your brand voice. You can't just stick any old thing in you find funny. It has to, because it's jarring. Humour for the sake of humour is not going to cut it. It must resonate your brand voice. You must be consistent. You must use it on all your platforms. It's one of the worst things for me is reading an inconsistent brand voice. You find a brand, you think, oh, these are great, but then the next time you read their copy or their ad, you think, oh, that's not how I remember them. And then next time there's someone else again. It makes you automatically distrust them. So keep it consistent. Don't overuse it. Whatever you do, it's not. We're not stand-up comedians. As I said, use it strategically and be careful where you use it. It always works best, I think, at the top of the funnel, because the top of the funnel is about bringing people in, letting them get to know you, showing part of yourself so they trust you. And the closer you get to the sale, I think the more you should pull away. I don't. Some people say no, absolutely no comedy on the sales page. I don't agree with that. There has to be even if it's just in your button copy or some micro copy somewhere. There has to be something.
There has to be an element as to why they started trusting you in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And your humour and your use of humour is part of why they're buying this. So, and of course, there's always exceptions to this. There's always going to be a brand who use it everywhere and it works for them. But I would say, as a general rule, top of the funnel is great, and just be more sparing and careful with it the further you get down.
Would you recommend? I'm just going on a tangent here.
That's fine. We are tangent queens.
Tangents. It's all about tangents. Just sparked a thought before when you were saying about having that consistency in your brand voice. One thing that I've seen a lot of people do is they're fun and approachable and relatable on Instagram. Then the moment they get onto LinkedIn, they're a completely different person. They're stuffy and formal.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that so much from
that.
TikTok to LinkedIn.
What do you think about adjusting for the different platforms? I just can't imagine that they've got such a wildly different audience. I think people think people on LinkedIn are different to people who are on Instagram, but it's the same person. They just have two profiles. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Mariam.
I love that you've said that, because I have real problems with LinkedIn. I know the benefits and all the opportunities it can bring you, but I find it so stuffy. And you know, and you see those posts that some, and it's usually a woman, shows a bit more vulnerable, show them go through a hard time. God forbid they show tattoos, or pink hair. And it's suddenly, this isn't professional. Well, who are you to decide what professional is? I like you. I work at home. I can sit and write in my pajamas if I wanted. To me, it's about the work. So I haven't cracked LinkedIn because I don't feel like it's the right platform for me. I haven't given up on it, but I'm going to try a slightly different angle while still being myself. But yeah, I have real problems with LinkedIn. I think it could be such a great platform, if we can just get the suits out of the way and someone to shut up.
Well, like someone that I know that what he has said about LinkedIn, especially like your LinkedIn feed, it's you can make it your own newspaper. It's highly customizable, and so that you can shape it so that it is actually pleasant to scroll through. But I mean, like, I still see the ick factor quite a lot, and I see it. What's funny, actually? Well, it's not really funny, but I look at it and I'm like, oh, you've got so much to learn. Is huge TikTok creators trying to tap into the LinkedIn market and are using the exact same hooks and declarations and such that they do on TikTok. And they're doing it on LinkedIn, and it falls on deaf ears, or they barely get any comments. Yet, the other interesting thing is that they're never posting their TikToks onto LinkedIn. I'm not sure what type of content you're going to want to produce for LinkedIn, but I actually think that some of your TikTok videos would do relatively well on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn also very much is still that networking platform. So it's very much about almost seeking out your tribe, I guess,
yeah,
you could say.
Yeah, I started just posting a few TikToks, but doing a relatively small post to go along with it, rather than just, and the same people that liked them on TikTok liked them on LinkedIn, so it was pointless.
Yeah, so I had the same problem, and then what I found actually helped was going onto other people's posts, not necessarily the people that liked my post, but going onto people that I might not necessarily know and commenting. And then from there, they would start to follow and engage a bit more. And so that was how you get a little bit of variety that way. But
yeah, I think for me, LinkedIn's going to be a slow burn, because if I'm going to take the time to write a post, I'm going to write a post in the way I want to.
Yeah, as you should.
And if that means, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't be anyone else. This is who I am, and I've always subscribed to that since I was young. Whenever I went to a job interview or a junior position, I would go as myself, because if I get the job, they know who's arriving. If you pretend to be someone else, you're probably not the right person for the job. So I'm going to try writing more posts next year. And it's funny you say about TikTok creators on there. I've seen some TikTok creators on there, and they start off exactly the same way I did, posting their TikToks. And I've seen them stop that. And there's been a big gap. Some of them haven't posted for a while. So I definitely think coming from TikTok to LinkedIn is a bit of a culture shock. It certainly was for me.
Yes. Yeah, it certainly is. It certainly is. Are you going to try ChatGPT on
I want to try. Oh, do you? I think that, I've had a play around with it, and it is quite formal. So I think you might do quite well doing a post on ChatGPT. I did a TikTok on it last night, actually.
Yeah, I saw it. That's why I brought up the topic.
Yeah, it's. Do you want to go there now, or?
Yeah, let's keep going.
Well, and for those listening who haven't heard of this before, this is AI technology that can write anything.
It's so strong. It's to the point that you can put a list of symptoms that you are having within the AI, and it will give you a quote unquote diagnosis that match those symptoms. You can even like just give them a list of ingredients that you have in your fridge, and it will spit out a recipe. It'll produce a blog off of those ingredients. Yeah. Although there is a website already that exists like
pickles,
that.
Mayonnaise.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they made something that sounded amazing. So it's really good. But I mean, the CEO came out on LinkedIn, the CEO of ChatGPT, and said, you know, it is not perfect. Do not rely on our AI and think that it's going to solve all your problems, because that's not what AI is for.
Yeah, I must admit, when I've had a play around with the current crop of AI writing tools, and I think it's best used as an idea generator, or when you're stuck and you've got a paragraph and you know all the words are in there but they're not in the right order. You just to kick your brain into a different direction. I certainly haven't used them for writing, because for me it's quicker to write it myself, because you're going back in to a fairly formal, slightly robotic piece of copy, trying to fix the holes. It takes much longer. But I went on ChatGPT a couple of days ago, and I have to say, my first half an hour on it, I was completely freaked out. I thought, oh my God, this is a disaster. This is the future. You know, we're not going to have any jobs. And, you know, I calmed myself down. And the longer I stayed on it, I just thought, what's fantastic about it is that you can add nuances. So you can say, write me a LinkedIn post about how to use comedy in copywriting, and you'll get a fairly bog standard, first draft-ish, a bit formal post. But you can say, well, now tell me the effect, what industries do this well, what companies do this well, what are the disadvantages, and it goes into the copy and adds that I think is quite something. But I actually asked it to write some comedy TikToks and comedy headlines and things, and they were dreadful. I mean, not only were they dreadful, not funny, they didn't make any sense. And I was a little bit scared of some of them, because I thought, where is this from? So that made me feel a lot better, because I think, you know, in terms of the writing I do, personality-based comedy writing, I'm going to be okay for now. But as writers, we've got to get used to it. We've got to work alongside it and find a way to use it to our advantage.
Well, I think what you've just said actually just goes to show that AI cannot read emotion. It cannot be emotional. While you can add in emotional terms and such into it, it doesn't achieve the same humanistic feel. The other thing is, I think you'll always have a job, because you know what, there'll always be somebody who couldn't be bothered to go onto ChatGPT and create those posts. They'd rather pay somebody to go and do that for them, or, you know, obviously use your expertise. So,
sure. And I think, oh, sorry, go on.
No. Keep going.
I foresee when you go on places like Etsy and you buy some beautiful handmade gifts and you get a sticker on it and it says handmade in or handmade by, I think we'll get to the point where it'll be written by a human. It will be a premium service, you know, as this AI develops, and it will develop, and it will get to the point where a certain level of business will just use that for their blog posts, because some people use, you know, Jasper and those kind of things now.
Terrible.
But I think written by a human will be a premium service at some point. Not yet, but that's how I see the market going.
So if people, to get back on topic, I feel like just the last, like, say 10 minutes could be its own miniature episode at this point about ChatGPT for sure. But to get back to comedic copywriting, so if we say, like, some people make the assumption that AI is the be all and end all, and that it can do everything that most people can't do. What is it that comedy is the only, like, what is it that comedy can do that nothing else can?
It can get people talking about adverts and marketing, like we said earlier.
Like,
you know, how many times do you share an ad with someone? It's, you know, it's going to be because it made you laugh, or maybe the cute factor. But you know, I don't know anything else that does that, and it speeds up the know, like, and trust factor. I think that's a huge advantage, because, you know, is it 8 touches? Is it 10 touches? Is it 20 touches? Whatever number they come up with.
I heard 30 the other day.
Yeah, well, there we go.
Yeah.
I think you can halve that at least with comedy.
Yeah, okay. All right, yeah. Well, I'm going to have to start putting comedy into my writing, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I like this. I mean, I tried to get onto ChatGPT the other day, and it said, it's so busy.
Same here. Same here.
You can get in. And I was like, I just want to go and have a little.
I honestly think it's because of where we were based. We always get things last in Australia. Always.
But yeah, what's interesting, because of course now, anytime something like this happens, right, TikTok is flushed with people not only sharing the tool, talking about it, but going, jobs are going to be replaced, blah, blah, blah. As you've, demonstrated with your own examples there, yes, you can get something, it's okay, but it doesn't have those same nuances. It's just not quite as good as that produced by a human with talent. If you're a human without talent, then cool, maybe, that's for you if you absolutely cannot write. For things like product descriptions, amazing. I can definitely see that will be such a huge benefit for small businesses, because who wants to sit there writing that kind of boring copy? It's not great. You can spend your time doing something else. So I think, like any tool, we don't want to let the machines take over, Terminator style. But I don't think it's going to be replacing jobs, at least not in the way maybe that we think. I think with any of these things, I know we're moving to more of an open kind of knowledge society, where it's not just about a certain number of people being the gatekeepers of that knowledge and, nobody else can access it. This type of tool shows us that, yes, in the coming generations, it's not going to be so much about what you know, but you still need that human factor, I think, to apply that knowledge and to make it relevant to your audience, which, I think that's what's going to still be missing, I think, even, with all of these tools, explaining people how it applies to them, why it matters to them, I think is still going to be very much human, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it only knows what has been put into it. It doesn't have anecdotes. It doesn't know about the time my son made socks out of poo. There are the anecdotes.
Did you
That
really?
is definitely for another. Oh God, that's enough for another podcast, definitely. I relentlessly tease him about it now. He doesn't mind, but yeah, it doesn't. It only knows what what it's been told. It doesn't have the human experience. It doesn't know how to handle emotions. And that's the style of writing people want now. People, generally the shift is away from stuffy kind of traditional marketing stuff to relatable, or the buzzword authentic. So that's it's not capable of doing that yet.
No. And I think also with the last, like, say, we keep referring back to on the podcast the last few years and such, and I think people are really sick of the negativity, and they're tired of it. There's a lot of fatigue when it comes to that stuff. Especially with, I know that in the UK, you guys are really struggling, say, with cost of living, power bills, and you guys are in the middle of winter now as well. And we're coming into the middle of summer here, and my power bill was not pretty the last quarter. And there's still talks of a recession, interest rates going up and such, and we're just all sick and tired of it. And so we want that lighthearted, comedic type of, I guess, vibe within what we want to see, which you start to see, I think, a little bit more within social media as well. As like people are just like, no, let's just smile and let's just laugh.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the reasons I like TikTok. Yeah, because TikTok is about not just about the message and about the lesson or teaching whatever you want to teach. It's about entertaining. You can be entertaining. You don't have to be funny necessarily, but you can be entertaining and still put your message across and attract your whoever your customer is. And TikTok is the energy TikTok gives. You know, it speaks to that attitude that, you know, we don't want the doom and gloom. You know, we want something fast, we want some music, we want it entertaining, and then we want the next thing.
Yeah.
And we want it to be relatable. I think that's that's where TikTok really stands out, and you can see all the other platforms that have tried to copy that and emulate it, right? Because they've just got it just right, that formula, and that's the reason why it's so addictive, right? Like, it's super, super addictive. So coming back to our copywriting here, what advice would you give people who, you know, perhaps aren't naturally witty or comedic, or feel like they aren't, even though they may be? How can they sort of start to use some of these elements of comedy or being relatable? I think we've used the word comedy a lot in this episode, but we're really talking about being relatable, talking to your potential customers or clients in a way that resonates with them, in a way that's going to connect with them and that they are going to appreciate. So if that does involve, you know, being a little bit clever, being a bit funny, how do people really get started with this? If it's something that they've never done before, perhaps they are ex-corporate, like Clem and I, where should they begin?
Well, I think you hit on my first answer in that, you know, a lot of people feel scared about writing humour or adding their personality. And I think you need to change your mindset and think about it as adding personality to your copy rather than let's add humour, let's add comedy, because that will keep you stuck, I think, especially if it's new to you. The easiest place to start implementing this is emails. If you're doing emails right, you should be adding a bit of personality to them anyway. But the first thing I always recommend is subject lines. You need your email to stand out in that inbox. The easiest way to do it is to make it funny. And, you know, that takes the pressure off the email itself. You know, and everybody can do that. You can write a funny subject line. The greeting you use. I mean, these are really simple little tips. If you sign up for my newsletter, I have a free micro course on putting comedy in your emails with examples and stuff. So if you signed up to my newsletter, you'll know some of this already. Yeah, the greetings. Don't just say hi. So, you know, say something funny. Look at emails that you've enjoyed and see how they, you'll find the comedy ones. It'll never be a simple greeting. It will never be a simple sign off. And absolutely take advantage of the PS. The PS for me is like my little secret weapon. It's much ignored, but I use it all the time to, you know, sometimes for callbacks to something earlier in the email, but it's like a cheeky little space at the end that it's not really part of it's not the serious part of the email. So I always use the PS. So I'm giving all my secrets away now. You read my emails, you'll see what I'm doing.
I love the PS. I love that. Related, or slightly related question, again, on a tangent. What's the best email sign-off you've seen? Because I've been seeing a few of these going around TikTok. They've been doing out-of-office ones, really funny out-of-offices that people have been sharing. Have you seen any really great ones that have really stuck with you? And I'm putting you on the spot here, I know.
Well, remember, here comes the M word again. Remember, you're talking to a menopausal woman. So, no, I can't remember any, but I will try and I will answer you later.
Okay.
She's going to send us a message at like 3 a.m. with this sign off.
Yeah,
like,
I'll send you a list, my top 20. Yeah, no, there are some great ones. Tell me what's your favourite one.
No context.
So, tell me your favourite. Have you seen any?
Yes, I did see one today, actually. It was knock knock, who's there? Not me, answering your email. And that was it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was like, I think I actually might use that because I'm taking like a full break between Christmas and New Year's. I am not touching phones, anything, for like the first time.
Wow.
In a very long time. I need it. I really need it. This woman is burnt out here. But yeah, I thought, I'm like, could I? Is that part of my brand personality? And then, like, I thought maybe putting the F word at the end might be more my personality at this point. I'm like, no. Potential clients might still be emailing me. No, I shouldn't do that. So no, I haven't considered it yet. But I thought that one was very firm in saying, I'm not going to answer your emails, so don't follow up. Yeah, don't follow up.
Good for you for taking a break, because I'm rubbish at that as well.
It's terrible. I don't know what it is. I think it's, what is it, like Emily Nagoski says in her book about burnout, it's human giver syndrome. And it's just like, you just want to constantly give and help. And it doesn't really help situations when you need to be giving more back to yourself than anyone else. But yeah. So one thing that we do emphasize quite a bit here is not only that saving of your sanity, like a full digital detox can do, but it's also saving time, because time is of the essence when it comes to parents that are in business. Is there a way that comedy saves time? And you may have touched a little bit about this much earlier in the interview as well. How can comedy save you time when you start to get, I guess, the wheel turning and the process going, in terms of getting that comedic writing within your copy?
I think it, and I did touch on this briefly, it helps solidify your brand voice. And if you know your brand voice and you know it well, it makes light of a lot of the things we have to do, the emails, the sales pages, the landing pages. It's such a strong pillar of your brand voice that, it's funny. I'd never thought of it in that way before, but yeah, it does. So once I've pinned down what the humour is, and I know the customer well enough, it's things like emails are so quick, and you enjoy writing them as well, and that makes it seem faster, even if it's not faster.
So it makes the work more enjoyable, so that it just
definitely
ends up going more quickly.
Mm.
Why not do it then? Just do it.
Exactly. Come on. It seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and I think that personality-driven content, that's what we're talking about here, doesn't necessarily have to be stand-up comedy funny, although it can be. I love that. All right, one last formal question for you here, but before I ask that, I've got one more little random side question. Are you still putting 2 spaces after a full stop?
I still did until like 2 months ago.
Oh God, this has driven me nuts. Because I learned to type at school on a typewriter. I am that old. Yeah, and 2 spaces. I have stopped very recently, but I'm annoyed every time I just leave 1 space. It's not doing my blood pressure any good. Yeah, I have to think about it. I do not like it.
I thought it was an American thing. Apparently, it's not. We were formally taught here. Yeah, when you learn to touch. So it's a generational
2 spaces.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it's a generational thing. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I guess, so, okay, Crystal, you asked the next question.
So that was just my random aside. The reason being that just popped into my head.
It's a very good question.
Yeah. It's important. These are the hard-hitting questions
that
Mad Marketing Mums. Because it leads on to our next questions, sort of. Let's just say they're related. But do you have any particular tools that you recommend for anyone who does want to incorporate more of their personality into their copy? Now, this you might not, other than, your own personality. But would love to hear if there's, anything that you do use in your business to help with that.
The best thing for anyone to do is keep a swipe file. If you find you get any emails or landing pages, whatever it is, that even if it's just one line, even if it's just a sign off or a greeting, keep that sucker, because you will forget. I definitely will forget, but you'll get to the stage where you might forget. It's free, it's easy, and it's totally personalized, because it's something that you enjoy. So that is my number one recommendation. You've got to save these somewhere. I also I rely sometimes on a rhyming dictionary. You can, if you're stuck, you can always rhyme. If you're stuck, rhyme or alliteration. That will get the cogs moving. So yeah, rhyming dictionary, free online. I've got a couple of books. There's one called Comedy Writing Secrets, and it's a guide to writing funny stuff and getting paid for it. It's by, I've got it here actually. It's by Mark. Oh no, he's got a really unfortunate surname. I'll spell it out and then you can say it. It's Mark Shatz.
Shats.
Yeah. I'm not making that up. That's what it says. It's a really
Poor
good
guy.
book. It's not too long. It's easy to read, and it's a real practical. It's got actionable stuff in it. The other one I found really useful it's called "And Here's the Kicker." It's by Mike Sachs, and it's conversations with, I think it's 2021 humour writers about their craft. So I love that stuff.
Yeah,
Sachs
and Shats.
Sachs and Shats. I wish I'd have set that up, but that just came naturally. I'm sorry.
Amazing. I love it.
We'll have to put an explicit on this podcast anyway at this point, Krishla.
We will we'll link to those books as well in the show notes, so you could go find them.
There's no affiliate codes. They're just two books I found really useful.
Absolutely. Oh, and that's good. I like having more things for the reading list because you get through them.
Yeah, and a podcast. I'm a massive nerd about comedy. I love stand-up comedy. I in no way compare myself to them. They are amazing. I don't know how they do it, but I like to listen to how they write, how they come up with their material. To me, that's fascinating. And there is a podcast called The Comedian's Comedian, and it's a well-known stand-up in the UK. He interviews comedians. It's not funny, although sometimes it is funny, but that's not the point. The point is he talks to them about their craft, how they come up with their material, how they build a show. So if you really want to nerd down on it, I'd highly recommend that.
I do, because I love some stand up. My two favorites are Jim Jeffries and Jimmy Carr. I mean, that shows the kind of humor that I enjoy. So. Yeah. So I'll have to definitely check it out.
And there's an easy way into it as well, because you just go down and find the comedians you like. Yeah, and then if you're into it, you just start listening to all of them. So yeah, it's a great podcast.
Yeah, it's great.
I love that. Thank you. It's always good to hear about other good podcasts other than our own.
Of course, other than our own. That surpassed 100 downloads in 48 hours. Now, that might sound like a small feat to people, but I'm pretty freaking proud of that.
Yeah, and so you should be. That's fantastic.
It may have never happened if we'd never gotten a name.
Exactly.
So nicely, doesn't it? One last aside, Mariam. What comics or comedians do you really love?
An infinite amount. There's a political comedian called Nish Kumar. He's fantastic. Catherine Ryan. Do you know? She's Canadian.
Rings a bell.
She's got very sharp, acerbic wit. I think, Clem, you will. If you like Jimmy Carr, you'll like her. She's really sharp.
Oh, I'm going to definitely look her up.
Writing it down.
She's amazing. She's really amazing. She's so funny. I like. Do you get the program Taskmaster in Oz?
No.
If you get the chance to see that, it's amazing, and all the top comics from the UK are all in that, and it's presented by two comics as well. It is amazing. It's brilliant.
I think the only British show that I have seen that is run by a British comedian by Jimmy Carr, it's the one that starts with something with cats in the title.
Yeah, 8 out of 10. Yeah, 8 out of 10 cats.
Yeah. That. And I watched it. I'm like, okay. Get back to your really screwed up comedy, please.
Yeah, it's a bit old, an old format as well. But if you can get a hold of some copies of Taskmaster, it's amazing, and you'll see all the top British comics on there.
Okay, all right, yeah, I'll definitely look that one up. So to wrap up the podcast, this is another off the cuff question, Mariam, which I feel like we could keep going for hours on end at this point, but you're starting your day, so we're gonna let you go soon. Krishla has been practicing closing, I guess closing sign-offs, right? Okay. So far, what she has done is don't go chasing waterfalls. And what was the other one? It was a hashtag.
Oh, I can't remember.
I don't know, but they were really cheesy. So
3 episodes ago.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Right?
What episode are we on now? I don't know. So considering that you created our podcast name off the cuff, do you have a good sign off that maybe we should consider?
I refer to my previous answer about menopause. I need to sit in a room silently and with a blank piece of paper, and then I will get back to you.
Okay, that's fine. You can just in all seriousness, I think it's got to come organically. The best ones I'm a huge podcast addict, and the best ones I think always just come out of the conversation. So maybe Krishla, what you should just do is just test them. Like, don't even tell me what you're gonna say.
No, definitely don't. Don't tell her. No. Yeah.
I'll just tell you if it's crap.
Equally, it'll be funny if you keep trying and you never get one. I'd listen to that.
Really, come on, Krishla. No, let's just try the next episode. Try harder.
All right. All right. Something now. Gosh, I'm on the spot.
Yeah, you're on the spot now. What's your closing remark? What is it? Tell me.
I've got a bed.
I got to finish my champagne. So
sometimes in TV you don't get very useful notes when you hand your script over to script editor or producer, and they put things like "be funnier." So yeah, my note to you, Chris, is "be funnier."
Okay.
That's like the feedback that we might occasionally get of like, oh, yeah, that's not great, but I don't know what it is about it. You know, can you just like zhuzh up the image?
Oh,
like, what does that mean?
Make it
pop. Yes.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't sing to me. It's like, well, it's not supposed to sing to you. It's supposed to sing to your ideal client. Anyway, well, Mariam, thank you so much for coming on. And like I said before, I think we could just keep going, but just absolutely thank you for coming on and just teaching us a thing or two. I mean, I've got like 25 timestamps of just bits and nuggets of information that you've given us that I really hope
you're very welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for giving us our name too.
Hey, the check is in the post.
Look, our post is pretty repulsive when it comes to service. So if you don't get paid, sorry, not sorry.
Australia Post. Yeah, post.
We didn't get it. No. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I guess to all of our listeners, we'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until then, keep cool till after school.
No.
No. That's actually mine, and any New Zealand listeners will know where I
That was better than I thought it was going to be.
I was under pressure.
This is the best one so far, but no.
All right, I'm stopping recording now.